Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Why Ukraine live stream. It's been a long time. I'm, as some of you guys probably know, I'm an American soldier. Now, I'm an American soldier in the Ukrainian army, not in the American army. And I live here in Ukraine. Some of you may notice that my background has changed since my last live stream, and I am in fact at home here in Ukraine, where I live. That does not mean that they kicked me out of the military, luckily. In fact, it means that I had to go home for an immigration appointment, and today I had that immigrant. It's they had to ask us a bunch of questions. Are you really married? All of this type of stuff to get my permanent residency in Ukraine. And so, yeah, it went pretty well. Some of you wished me good luck, and thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And so basically, the army. I just asked. All I needed was 1 day off, plus like a day on each side to take the train back and forth, because I had to do it in my home region. This thing, but no, my battalion said no. You can't do that. You have to take a full 2 weeks off, which is weird. But I guess the situation is that some people have been using little things like this to take more days off than they should from the army, and so they're trying to prevent that, I guess. Anyway, thank you all for coming, and we have two things to discuss today. Two things we're going to talk about today. I'm not going to do like 1,000 different things. We're going to talk about this Trump's craziness. I hate to say it, but it's extremely relevant. And if you paid attention to the thumbnail on this live stream, you'll kind of get a sense of where I'm going with it. And we're going to talk about that. And then the second thing that we're going to discuss today is I'm going to do a little reaction to this bit about, U.S. secretly invests in developing drone production. As you guys know, I'm in the Ukrainian drone force, and I'm deeply connected. In such a short time, it's amazing that I'm so deeply connected to what's going on, and we're going to talk about that as well. So first of all, I want to greet everyone. Thank you all for coming. They exist. How are you doing? And I'm sorry to hear about your friend. Really and truly sorry. I recently had a death in the family. Actually, this past week. I'm not prepared to talk about it right now. I'm going to discuss it tomorrow, because it's a separate topic, and I don't want to get distracted today. Because now that I'm in the military, my time is valuable, and yours is too. So thank you all for coming, Robert. Oh, you're going to be here switching back and forth between this and Aziza's channel. I didn't know Aziza. I've seen her on Rick the Ukrainian. I didn't know she had her own channel. That's great. That's really great. Michelle, thank you for coming. It wasn't me. Mitch, Anna, as always. Nikki, wonderful to see you. Shere Khan, hey, what's going on, man? What's going on? So yeah, let's get started. I guess, but before I start talking about our main topic today, I want to tell you about the fundraisers that I have going, and that I'm actively. There's a reason that I haven't been being able to live stream and stuff, but I've had a lot of irons in the fire and a lot of um, things that I'm working on. Uh, Thank you, KKSGG. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, and also, condolences. They exist. I'm sure you're. I I had my best friend died in a really horrible way back in 2015, and it affected me very deeply. It's probably part of the reason why I pulled up stakes and left the country. So it can affect us very deeply. And I've had a lot of friends die in this war, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow, though. So today, I want to talk about the things I'm doing right now. So some of you have seen my uh, what country did I leave? I left the United States. They exist, um, and came to Ukraine eventually. Um, okay, so going back to so some of you have seen the videos on my site. I'm my unit. So my unit is the Birds of Fury. We are in the process of partnering with Technology for Ukraine, Technology United for Ukraine. Hey, the Ukraine mission. Thank you so much. Wow. And thank you. I hope that we get to do a live together sometime while I have time off. And you guys, if you haven't supported the Ukraine mission, please do so. His channel, he just recently had a fundraiser for a thermal scope, which he's actively on the front line. I'm not going to say where, but I do know where, and yeah, so that's like going to the right people. And the Ukraine mission, Brit, he goes by Brit on when he goes on the Shills and stuff, and he and I go way back to last year in the International Legion. Anyway, so the point I was making is, my unit is we are actively partnering with Technology United for Ukraine. Our engineers are beginning to work with some of their engineers, and specifically, we're working on two big projects, and one you guys might know because I think we talked about it on some of the videos, is fiber drones. Okay, now my unit is primarily focused on fixed wing, mid-range fixed wing drones. Okay, but Technology for Ukraine came. Well, I knocked on their door and they said, "Hey, can you help us build fiber drones?" And so I kind of it's a very interesting thing. I'm brand new in this unit, and I said, "Hey, listen, could we also potentially build fiber drones?" And of course, there's a private company which is it's also called Angry Bird. So this is the private registered company that builds our drones. And my job as an engineer with the military is to set the parameters uh, by which the private company actually builds the drone. So you think of like the military in the US, you have Lockheed Martin, right? Lockheed Martin builds this stuff. The military says, this is what we want you to build. Okay. So I work very closely with on that. Okay. And so I went to them and I said, hey, somebody really wants help, and there's actually units in Kursk and Pokrovsk who desperately need these fiber drones. Can we start cranking them out? And it took a while to realign and to make some partnerships with other manufacturers here in Ukraine. And I think, we're getting ready to start doing that. That costs money. So if you and I literally just set this up 30 minutes ago, guys, and I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna work on this page. I want to turn it into like a raffle, um, where you can get some reward for contributing. Um, I want everybody who contributes, who wants to be recognized, to be recognized. Um, and this is the pre-manufacturing prototype of the drone itself. Um, the main the well, I don't want to go into too many details here, but there's a nice video here of the drone, the basic drone that we're going to build in operation. Um, we've got the fiber optic spools ready to go. We've got a bunch of 3D printers to print the various parts. Um, I'm sorry, Robert. Yeah. So it's very interesting, Robert. Speaking about technology for Ukraine, they are a collective, um, and yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, good people and heart in the right place, and there's a lot of potential to really do good things. And so we're getting this, like, well, I shouldn't go into too much detail, but uh, this these donations here go directly to my unit to help get this manufacturing started. Okay. So it's not like you're buying a specific drone, a single drone, like I've done fundraisers to buy a drone before. No, no, no. This is to get the manufacturing line going and actually build these drones en masse, essentially. Um, now, um, I just whip this up as quickly as I can because so my unit has fundraising, but this fundraising has to go to our specific systems, okay? And the fundraising here, that it's great, we need that as well, but it's not about fiber drones, okay? This is about fiber drones. So so that's what I'm launching right now. And we also have, this is a charitable foundation, um, that helps fund. It's kind of complex how it all works. I'm going to get to this stuff. Um, and so tomorrow I'm going to talk more about this because how our charitable foundation works and what it funds. Um, it funds our uh, long range drone systems, and we are also in the process of very close to setting up a veterans support center here in Ukraine, which understand that those don't exist. There's no infrastructure for that here in Ukraine. So they're just set up by private individuals or charities, kind of like what Jake Broe was funding with was it Richard Woodruff? Anyway, we're going to talk about that tomorrow because I'm not ready to. I have some videos to show you guys and all this. Um, uh, Shere Khan says, "Wow, how did you manage that? What? Which? There's a lot of things. Okay. um, mm, Last White Rose. Thanks for coming. Um, oh, Belle, it's wonderful to see you here. Yeah, feel free to lurk all you want. Um, oh, the veteran support. Well, the veteran support thing is something that Hero of Ukraine. This is the charitable foundation that takes donations from within Ukraine mostly, to support Birds of Fury. This is one of their programs, um, to open up this veterans support center, which again I'm going to talk about that tomorrow because it's been under construction. It's just getting finished. Yeah, and I apologize, Robert. It's a lot. So for today, Robert says, yes, I was a little confused by all the different fundraisers. Yeah, I'll try to keep it simple. Okay. So today I want to focus on the fiber optic drone manufacturing startup. Um, yeah, Shirkan, that's right. Shirkan says that's freaking amazing. There's nothing for vets. That's you hit the nail on the head, and Shirkan knows because he does charity work with another charity foundation that is helping vets in another part of Ukraine, but it's all kind of regional and not everywhere. And there's no VA hospital. Now we do have universal health care here. Okay. Um, so I mean that's a good thing. And when you're in the military, you have access to health care. Um, but for veterans who have left the military and have gone home, there's nothing specifically for that. Okay, so now that we've gotten through all that, let's talk about this craziness here. Like why? Why is Trump talking about Greenland and Panama and taking over Canada, right? And there's been a lot of theories about this I've seen in the media. People just seem very, very befuddled. The BBC talking about it. There was a video with the president of Denmark, just totally confused. Like, Ukraine Mission just said, I've had better and faster healthcare here than I ever had in England. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So it's just pretty interesting. Here's the BBC, like, this is NPR. Is Trump's rhetoric on Greenland, Canada, and Panama Canal a madman strategy? Like, no, it's specifically not. This is, I really hate it when, people talk about Putin this way too. Like, is it some kind of madman strategy, No. Can Article 5 be used on the USA, Michelle? It might have to be. But that is Putin's strategy, right? He divide and conquer. Hello, Linda. Thanks for coming, by the way. Divide and conquer, right? So, okay. I've talked about Ukraine Mission, better is a little flexible. Yeah. I mean, it's not perfect healthcare here, but it's certainly better than the United States. Okay. Okay. So I've talked about how Trump has been essentially a Russian asset being manipulated by the KGB, going all the way back to the late 1970s. For Christ's sake, Trump, Russian KGB asset. And this has been well documented. Here we go. Article in The Guardian. Right? It says ex-KGB spy. Okay. And so it's like the Russian viewpoint is ingrained in his personality, and I think maybe that's part of the reason why his attraction to these former Soviet bloc women, essentially, perhaps. Maybe they were getting kind of fed to him by the KGB. I mean, that's supposition, but here we go. Then in 1987, Trump and Ivana visited Moscow and St. Petersburg for the first time. Shvets said he was fed KGB talking points and flattered by the KGB operatives who floated the idea that he should go into politics. For the KGB, it was a charm offensive. They had collected a lot of information on his personality, so they knew he was personally. All right. So these people who say Trump has a strong personality or that he might value strength, okay, but that's because he himself has a weak personality. He's a weak person, So here's really what I think. I think that Putin, through his agents, as we know, there's multiple, essentially, Russian agents within within Trump's inner circle. Bell asks if the Ukraine mission has a fundraiser. Ukraine mission has an ongoing fundraiser for an upgrade to his thermal scope, as I recall. Is that right, Britt? Because yeah, he's got enough for like a really basic thermal scope, but better is better. And thermal scope on the front line is like a superpower, to be honest. Right. So going back to this, right? So ATP Geopolitics, JP, who I'm hopefully he's coming to Ukraine in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say exactly when, but I'm hopefully going to be meeting with him. Had a confirmation of that today. Yeah, today. Going to be meeting with him in the next couple weeks. Might do like a live stream or something in person. That'll be cool. Oh yeah, Bell. Okay. I'll send you a link to the Ukraine mission. A link to Discord. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going here. So like, why is Trump talking about this? Canada and Panama Canal and Mexico and Greenland, because he's been sold the idea by Putin. Within the next week now, he wants to have this Yalta conference where with Xi Jinping and Putin and him, so he can stand up there and feel like the big boy. If nothing says weakness more than that, right? And they're essentially going to divide the world, into their own respective oligarchies, right? So, it's Oceania, Eurasia, and East Asia, and Oceania has always been at war with East Asia and Eurasia, right? It's literally Orwellian. What it is actually is it's a step back to the 19th century model of empires dividing up the world and having these, spheres of influence, Monroe Doctrine, all of that crap. We're moving backwards in time, and I feel pretty strongly that that's an interesting question. They exist says Ukraine will be bartered for Greenland. Well, I mean, consider that these are both independent countries. You can't barter something that you don't have, right? But you may have a good point in that Trump and Putin might get together and say, okay, Putin, if you'll let me have Greenland, then I'll let you have Ukraine. Stupid with a capital stew. This is the problem with Trump, right? He thinks he's smart. It's Dunning-Kruger syndrome, right? He thinks he's the art of the deal, the smartest guy, and he's going in, with the weakest hand, which is crazy because America is supposed to be the most powerful in the world. So everybody is going like, why is he talking about Greenland and Panama? It's because he's being sold. He has been sold. He is sold on the concept, the exact same worldview that Vladimir Putin has and Xi Jinping have. Fantasy land, both of them, but it's dangerous rhetoric. Anna, for them, it's not fantasy. For them, that is the real world, and this is one thing that drives me crazy about like John Mearsheimer and that crowd. They refer to their philosophy as realism. Okay, and it's the opposite of realism. It's literally a medieval fantasy of the world, and an incredibly cynical failure to recognize that we, humanity as a species, have moved on. It's like, it's just like Dugin's, and I would argue even Russian cultural concept of time as a circle and nothing ever changes, nothing ever advances. That is exactly Mearsheimer and, oh my gosh, who's Nixon's, the guy who just died, advisor. Why can't I remember his name right now? Henry Kissinger, and these guys, they call themselves realists. It's the opposite of realism. I mean, believing in Tolkien is more realistic than this. It's going back to some perceived fantasy of the past and saying that's how humanity was 100, 200 years ago, so that's how humanity always will be. And it's just simply not true. It's just simply not true. Ukraine mission. So your fundraiser is complete. Oh, fantastic! Congratulations, dude. I'm looking forward to seeing video of. I want to see video of you using your, like, on the front line. I don't know if you can, like, line your phone up so we can see the Russians through your scope. That would be really cool. Okay, but I digress. So that's what's happening here, guys. This is a new age of empires. Okay, and here's my real theory on this stuff. With as long as we're, I'm gonna go to my channel here because I'm very proud of this thumbnail that I made here. I took that from the video game. There's a new video game, not a new video, a very old video game called Age of Empires. Okay, and it's one of these games where you and I used to play the game. Still fun to play, where you basically you control these little armies and little units, and you send them off to fight and they all die, and then you send another wave and they all die, and your fight. It's exactly this fantasy is what this guy has, and what Xi Jinping and Putin also have. It's this masturbatory freaking fantasy of themselves, and the thing about it is, other people who are also, I would argue, weak of mind, weak of will. Okay, people who have nothing in their life to live for, and they don't have their own success or whatever. This is the classic thing. Russians don't even have their own toilets, and that they might be living on $50 a month or whatever out in freaking Siberia, but they watch TV and they say, "Raw, go Vladimir Putin, go!" And they live vicariously through him, and that is what a lot of, I believe, a lot of people who support Trump, when he says things like this, they're like, "Yeah, raw America." Linda, thank you so much for giving people these memberships. Michelle makes a very important point. She says they should just play Risk, and this is exactly my point. The reason that Trump is doing this shit is because he never got to play Age of Empires. You know what I mean? He like, just go fucking play one of these games like this, dude. StarCraft or freaking Warcraft. The original Warcraft game. Go play that shit. Stop foisting your ego masturbation on the entire world. Right? So uh, just think about that when the media is going like, oh, he's some kind of a madman. Where is all this coming from? It's because Putin, Trump, Xi, possibly Elon Musk, I don't know. They're all on the same side. They're on the same side. And it's not the West against the East, or democracies against communism or something. No, no, no. Okay. The world is going to be divided by these people, by these oligarchs. And it's happening in every country to a greater or lesser extent. And they're moving us backwards in time. Yeah, you sunk my battleship. Yeah, go freaking play one of those stupid games, because that's what it is. It is literally playing games with people's lives. And Putin recently said, Putin bored. He in his address, he basically said, here's the quote: uh, "When everything is calm, measured, stable, we are bored." It's basically why he you know invaded Ukraine. When everything is calm, stable, and predictable, we get bored, stagnate, and crave a brouhaha. I mean, I mean, like, okay, dude, if you're freaking bored, like, that's what video games are for, you know? All I can say is that I hope that future generations of, young leaders will have played enough Age of Empires that they get this out of their system. Yeah, World War III caused out of boredom. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So that's my first topic for today. Thank you all for sitting through that. Let's move on, because I want to talk about this recent video and this article um, come out from the New York Times, and I don't have the New York Times, but here's all these other articles about it. Okay. So the Biden administration has declassified the latest details of its military assistance to Ukraine, highlighting previously undisclosed support for for Ukraine's drone industry. They've made major investments, including 1.5 billion sent last September to develop drone production. And I know that sounds great. Actually, it really fucking pisses me off. Okay, it really fucking pisses me off. No, I mean, I've been pissed off for a while at the Biden administration for, like, now they're all of a sudden sending all this aid. I know you guys, some of you don't like this, that I talk shit about Biden or America, but I have a right to, goddammit. It's my country and he's my president. And I actually support him, but not perfect by far and away. Thank you, Fragden Shiza said, I feel the same. Like all this stuff, all these sanctions and, pushing all kinds of aid. Why couldn't they have done that 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Where was this? Why couldn't it have happened then? If it had happened then, if it had happened 3 years ago, we wouldn't even be having this war. They exist. Very important point here. Also, the default momentum of poorly educated males for adolescent minds for seizing the spoils of war. Yeah. I mean, going back to my original point about people getting all behind, like, yeah, let's take Greenland, let's take Panama. It's because they have nothing to do but sit at home, watch TV, and drink beer. Back in the '90s when I used to have to fight with skinheads all the time. And they were like, I'm proud of my white culture. Like, okay, if that's all you have to be proud about, like, tell me what you've done with your life, and you don't even know what your white culture is except to sit around and drink Pabst Blue Ribbon. and shave your head. Oh, hey, SkruffyTalez. SkruffyTalez has been doing. I know I know you've been busy lately, but SkruffyTalez has been doing really good in-depth frontline discussions about Kursk and Pokrovsk. That you guys, if you haven't checked out SkruffyTalez, the Warzone, definitely worth watching his videos. I think because there's very, very few. I mean, maybe some of Greg Terry's videos where he's talking about really like what's going on down on the front line type stuff, and Dr. Gerdes is kind of getting into that. But Scruffy's getting really into like the minutia of the critical points. Like, this exact point is the most critical fulcrum of the whole Kursk front. And it's really very interesting. Because I'm one step back from that, and even the guys who are in Kursk right now, or in Pokrovsk, some of whom I know, I won't mention any names, but they may not. When you're on the front line, you may not see the bigger picture. So it's interesting. Okay, anyway, I digress. So I feel this. Why does this piss me off? Why does this article from the New York Times pisses me off? Because now Americans are going to feel justified in saying to themselves, well, you Ukrainians wouldn't even have any drones if it wasn't for us, our CIA. Bull fucking shit. Okay. This 1.5 billion, drop in the bucket in terms of drone production. Okay. I mean, yes, okay, it had a real strategic impact, but Ukraine was already well on the way. Okay. And Bell, I will definitely do that. Bell says, James, please let me know if our friend needs anything, since he's not great at asking and stuff. He's getting better. He's learning. It's hard. It's hard for a lot of. I've met plenty of Ukrainian soldiers who I've tried to get to come on the live stream or whatever, and they've said, "Man, I would rather face 100 orcs than than go on YouTube and ask for help." Or even have my picture taken. They're just very shy. So yeah, Shere Khan says, yes, there's so many drone factories in Ukraine. There's so much innovation happening left, right, and center. And so I'm going to go through this video here a little bit because I feel like it's important. Let me know if you guys can hear the sound on this.
Program to boost Ukraine's ability to create lethal battlefield drones. Is the dronification of warfare actually a CIA plot?
No. The answer is no, it's not a CIA plot. It happened, and the CIA happened to have jumped in on something that was already happening. Okay, so you guys hear the sound. That's good. Because God knows I've been going back over some of my old live streams, and I'm shocked that anybody actually listened, because, good God. Thank God that you guys helped me, and Shere Khan especially helped me get this new laptop, because, wow. Okay, let's keep going here. So, no, it's not a CIA plot.
Apparently, yes.
No!
Plus,
no, dude, it's not. By the way, I sent I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. Combat Veteran Reacts. I sent him a little comment onto this video where I said, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna be doing a reaction video, so maybe he'll watch it. I don't know." No, it's not a CIA plot. Okay.
We're going to take a look at the chorus of people from the Pentagon and even the defense industry sounding the alarm that the Pentagon is spending a lot of money to get weapon systems that are worthless in the conflicts of the future.
Now,
just how do we build a military that can actually fight and win?
That is important. Okay. I would just want to go back and repeat it. the Pentagon and even the defense industry sounding the alarm.
Is spending a lot of money to get weapon systems that are worthless in the conflicts of the
Pentagon is spending money, and the defense industry is spending money to get weapon systems that are worthless in the conflicts.
future. Just how do we build a military that can actually fight and win against the threats of today? Plus, we are going to be taking a look at.
Mitch just said the CIA is in there to learn. Yeah, that's you goddamn right. And that 1.5 billion bought them the opportunity to learn, if anything.
Romania. Are they the latest victim and target of Russian aggression? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so this is a crazy story because the U.S. and Column the New York Times did not actually understand what a story is, right? But they say the U.S. reveals its one secret support for Ukraine's drone industry. This is an incredibly vague statement, but it says, right, that Biden administration has declassified a piece of information about how it helped Ukraine, an account of its one secret support for the country's military drone industry. U.S. officials said on Thursday that they made big investments to help Ukraine start and expand its production of drones as it battled Russia's larger and better equipped army, right? Now, this is on top of the overt U.S. assistance to the Ukrainian military, right? Missiles, air defense systems, tanks, artillery, and training. But the other support that has gone on in the shadows included helping Ukraine develop a new generation of drones that revolutionize how wars are fought. So this is something that I think is a...
Look, drop in the bucket. The U.S. support for drones and drone manufacturing so far in Ukraine, I would argue, drop in the bucket.
Classic, and this isn't me being like, oh, it must have been the CIA.
You want to know? You want to know where the money for drone manufacturing in Ukraine comes from? It comes from freaking Ukrainians, individual Ukrainians donating to individual units and fundraisers, and actually the units themselves spending their own hard-earned money to buy the drones necessary that their units use. That's where the money's coming from.
CIA Director William Burns in an interview said,
"You want to say that? Oh, well, the military, Ukrainian military, is." Getting paid through these grants and loans and things from the United States and the EU, and that's how they're funding drone. But sure, okay, right. Frag just said this is just filled with half truths and bad understanding. Yeah, but it's this cultural gap that I keep having to deal with because I'm standing on this kind of fence now with my engineers and developers in my unit who are working on these cutting edge drone systems and things, but they also have to run it ultimately as a business, okay, and then engineers and even fundraisers in the United States, like for example through Technology for Ukraine and other sources, who don't understand how this works in Ukraine and why it works the way it does. So we'll get into that, okay?
I think our intelligence support has helped the Ukrainians to defend themselves, not just in the sharing of intelligence, but support for some of the systems that have been so effective.
Now, that is true. The intelligence support in general coming from the CIA has been absolutely freaking vital. I can tell you from firsthand.
What we could be talking about, right? And this is something where what we've seen, so I talk about this a lot on this channel, is that the Ukrainians, one of the sources of non-budgetary assistance that the U.S. has almost certainly provided Ukraine is in technical expertise. Now, this has come from the Pentagon in some ways, in providing, for example, planning and capabilities, right? How do you array air defenses? But more importantly, I think we've also seen this from the CIA, right? Because remember, the CIA's budget, some of it, they don't have to classify it all. But when it comes to foreign military assistance, right, actually providing weapons, that's something that is a little tougher for the CIA to do. But what they can do is the same thing that the Russians do in North Korea, right? They didn't give North Korea ballistic missiles. But what they did do is send, likely, their Russian ballistic missile experts to help leapfrog the North Koreans. And I have maintained for a while that the U.S. has been a core part in helping Ukraine sort of jumpstart its technical industry.
Okay. Let me tell you something, all right? I've been working with Ukrainian engineers for a long time, since 2013, okay? Literally, I was VP of an IT company. No, god damn, 2010. Now I think about it. When I was, starting out as a, network technician guy and working remotely with Ukrainian engineers, okay, on all sorts of things, web development, project management, actual network engineering, all kinds of things. And Ukraine has so much engineering skill in all fields, not the least of which aircraft design and building and rockets. I mean, a lot of the rockets and aircraft that Russia is using on Ukraine right now were designed and originally built or prototyped in Ukraine. Okay, so there's plenty of resources here in terms of technical ability. It's just the money to do it. And if you want to know why I'm doing this fundraiser, this is exactly why, because we have to jumpstart this, and it's, to be honest, it's probably going to be about $4,000. That's my guesstimate, just to kick this off. Okay, to really get it going, and I'm hoping that you guys can help. Anyway, because the CIA hasn't approached me, I can tell you that. All right, let's keep going.
And this sort of confirms that what likely happened is that probably CIA or CIA-funded experts went into Ukrainian drone manufacturers and said, listen, here's how we think we can get these drones to be cheaper.
Let's see. Mitch just said, Merck showed a good vid yesterday on the CIA involvement early on. More about Ukraine knows stuff about Russia, and CIA frankly didn't. Yeah, no. Since 2014, I know the CIA has been started to work pretty closely, and that's great. But that's not what this is about, though, right?
Be more effective, to be more lethal against the Russians, right? And that's likely what they did. Because you notice these drones are actually sort of brilliantly engineered because they are cheap, so incredibly cheap to build. They are absolutely minimal in terms of the parts they need, but they are scalable.
Yeah, they're minimal. SkruffyTalez says the CIA don't know about Russia. Well, okay, maybe there. I would say there are cultural gaps. There are just cultural gaps between America and Russia in terms of mindset. And that's what I just keep. And it wouldn't surprise me if the CIA might know about Russia, but do you know the Russian mindset on a deep, do you grok Russia? Scruffy, you might. You're a little bit closer, being in Sweden. Okay.
Right, and that's one of the things that makes this design so incredible, is that it can be scaled almost infinitely. Drone workshops are something that is all over the country and houses, literally, units will have their drone pilots go and build their own drones. And so, we have worked with some of these drone manufacturers like Stalker. By we, I mean the crew at Ukraine ADOPS, right? They put in these purchase orders with the funds that you guys raised, and then we purchase the drones. They go to the units do their last minute tweaks, right? Getting converting them from a civilian drone model into something that's likely a lot more lethal, or reconnaissance, right? Officially, I don't know what the units do with them.
And none of that, the CIA has nothing to do with any of that. Okay.
But the key is that sort of streamlined, highly engineered design is something that was almost certainly supported by, either financially or technically, I really think technically, by the CIA, right?
No.
And
no, not at all.
That is a classic sort of intelligence move, is to, in these quiet ways, sort of bolster your...
no, they might have jumped in the middle, but no.
Allies in ways that they may not know they need assistance on. And so this, I think, is a really good illustration of that. But I don't think it's limited to just the drone program. Obviously, I think the drone program is absolutely the top example of this. And while what I thought was interesting is that Jake Sullivan himself is like, listen, these drones have a strategic impact. They're central to the fight in Ukraine and will be central to all future fights. Said
probably Ukrainian drone manufacturers training U.S. officials in some capacity or another. It's fun fact, fun fantasy, but no, this is frankly, this is classic, like, and I mean, I love Combat Veteran Reacts. I love this guy, and he's awesome. But this is the classic American mindset of we're superior in all things. Okay, so we must be teaching you. You couldn't possibly be teaching us anything, and that's Yeah. Frag just said the vampires were from agriculture. Yeah, Ukraine was actively working very hard on drones in the agricultural sphere before the war, and even as lately that I know of, as lately as 2023, there were even drone manufacturers who were hiding the fact that they were building Defense Department drones under. I mean, I specifically spoke with him and worked with him, hiding the fact that they were building, defense drones because they were relying on technology and equipment from China, actually. Okay. Okay. I want to just skip ahead a little bit. Yeah. So let's talk about Palantir. Oh yeah. Now Brave One. If you guys don't know what Brave One is here, so Brave One it's the only technology, the only technology fund in Ukraine that we know of. Okay, and it's like a grant program for defense tech manufacturers. Okay, and you go through this whole thing and you register a grant. And this, I really believe that this was set up with coordination from, the West, the United States or something like that. Because it has the mark of like American grant programs all over it. Right. Yeah. SkruffyTalez says Ukraine will be teaching Western armies for the next 10 years on warfare. Yeah. But anyway, but here's the thing: this Brave One grants here, all you get is I think $25,000 or $30,000. That's it, and the process of submitting it's just like really arcane, and most drone development companies are just not going to go through that process just to get a lousy $25,000. Essentially, it's not worth it. When you could do a fundraiser and probably make that in a week. From Ukrainians here in Ukraine. Okay, going back. Okay, Palantir. Yeah. Right. So this is a CIA corporation called InQtel that helped Palantir get started. Fragden Shizo said, "You are on full screen with your webcam." Why, Ukraine, the last alliance? Yes, I am. Am I not sharing my? I should be sharing my screen. Can you guys see the video? You guys can't see the video. Cool. There. Now, stopped 3 minutes ago. That's very interesting. Okay. Let me reshare. Thank you for letting me know, guys. Entire screen. Also share system audio. There we go. How's that? Can you guys see it now? Live streams. Okay, we're good. Fantastic. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I hate it when something like that happens and I'm like talking for 30 minutes and making a fool of myself. Not that I don't do that normally. Okay.
To support U.S. intelligence gathering, right? The name InQtel is a reference to Q, the fictional inventor who supplies technology to James Bond. So literally, the CIA publicly, right? This is not secret. It's on Wikipedia. CIA said, listen, you guys build something crazy, some high stakes, highly effective technology. We, the CIA, are going to go in and we're going to buy a portion of that. And in exchange, you're going to close your technology to the outside world. You are going to let it incubate inside the intelligence community. And then after 5 years, you get to release it back out because we got our 5-year moving advantage.
Right. So all right. So I'm going to just skip ahead a little bit because he starts talking about. Okay, we'll get past his energy drinks. Here we go. All right.
From idea to iteration to testing to scaling is measured in weeks and months. The Pentagon's is measured in years. And
okay, this is the point I wanted to make here. Okay, we'll get past strike gum.
Right, to go from idea to iteration to testing to scaling is measured in weeks and months. The Pentagon.
So Ukraine's ability. I think this bears repeating. So if we listen to a little bit of strike gum, that's okay.
Let's talk about the Pentagon. We talked about how Ukraine's ability to innovate on the battlefield, right, to go from idea to iteration to testing to scaling is measured in weeks and months. The Pentagon's is measured in years. And in fact, even the Pentagon's own Defense Innovation Board has said that this is a fucking disaster, right? In fact, chair of the Innovation Board, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, has said that the Pentagon should rethink some of its major strategies related to innovation. And if it doesn't, there could be severe national security consequences. They say, quote, the world is changing very rapidly. And if we don't do something, there's an awful lot of dangers. Everything we've built for the last 250 years can be thrown away. That's a reference to the entire country. And that's the thing to remember is that.
So this is where Combat Veteran Reacts is really hitting the nail on the head here. Okay, so the American model, the American, let's say, Cold War model of defense technology development, which is big, slow, and especially actually the post-Cold War model, where you've had so much consolidation that there's basically like 2 or 3 major defense companies. There's Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and then like I don't know about Navy stuff or whatever, but I mean there's not a lot. Whereas before the 1990s, before about 1993. Oh, Raytheon. There we go. Thank you, Raytheon. That's what I was trying to. So it's a very small number. Okay, and it's consolidated into, I would even argue, like basic monopolies. Okay, and so therefore it takes years, like he said here, 10 years minimum to develop a system, to take a system from um, from prototype, from an idea in someone's head to something that can actually be used on the battlefield. And guess what? Ukraine can't do that. Doesn't have that uh, uh, luxury to do that. Really. And so here, I'm gonna just bring this up because I want to show you how my unit works. Okay. So this is, and this is, maybe I brought this up before, I don't know, but this is how a lot of Ukrainian units are working to some degree or another. Okay. So you've got three organizations. You've got the military unit, Birds of Fury. Okay. And we fly these drones that you see here. Okay. The drones are built by this company here, Zliktahi. Okay. And then it's all funded. The whole thing is funded by this charitable organization. If you think that the money for these drones is coming from like the Ukrainian army or something, just forget about it. 99% of the drones that are being used on the battlefield in Ukraine are not being paid for by the Ukrainian military. They're being paid for by volunteers. Um, they're being paid for by, like I said, the units themselves on the front line, and NGOs who are manufacturing these and donating them. One of my colleagues told me a story about how in his prior unit, they had, I think it was a reconnaissance drone. They had one drone, like a Mavic or something, that was given to them by the government. Okay, and just like in the American army, if you lose a piece of equipment, you have to account for it, and if you can't prove that it was, there's all kinds of paperwork to deal with. You could actually be held liable for it. Like, you have to pay for it. I have colleagues who, they returned. We get issued guns, and then we have to take them back to the arsenal each day, or at a certain period of time, or when we come off the front line, and there was some kind of damage to his gun, and he got it that way, but when he first took the gun, he didn't see it, and they wanted to charge him money for some little freaking tiny little damage on his gun. Ridiculous stuff. But the same is true in the U.S. Army as well. Okay, so my my fellow soldier, he said, yeah, we basically never once flew that drone that the government gave to us. We flew hundreds of drones, and this was in the Bakhmut area, hundreds of drones that were donated to us of the same model or thereabouts. But what we did was, on our reports, we said it was all this one drone. So the Ukrainian government, had no clue. And I mean, this is obviously a problem, right? Obviously a problem that the higher ups don't understand how much equipment is actually coming from donations and private individuals. Shere Khan, think about how many drones are lost just in training. I mean, I've had some like reconnaissance drone units tell me that their drones, if on average, I've had some tell me that they get 4 flights per drone. Or shit, was it 4 flights per drone or 4 drones? No, one. They lose a drone per day is what they told me. Frag says, "Oh, do you know what happened to the Helsing drone from Germany?" I've heard of it, but I haven't been able to keep track. Um, it's on my list. so so this is the model. What I'm showing you on the screen here. This is the model that many um, uh, Ukrainian units are following. Most of them, I would say, do not have their own charitable foundation. They rely on an outside charitable foundation, like but there's a bunch of them. I can't remember all the names. There's hundreds. Both foreign NGOs and Ukrainian. So this is a Ukrainian nonprofit. Okay, and then there's the company, and in a lot of cases that might be just some random basement drone laboratory in Kyiv or in some city near the front or whatever, building these drones. Sometimes the NGO and the company building the drones are one and the same, and then you have the unit itself. So when I try to explain to like Americans who have some level of familiarity with or some expectation that things are going to be that Ukraine is following and should follow the American model of everything has to go through the Defense Department, and 150 four-star generals have to freaking sign off on everything and blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, Ukraine has some kind of system like that, which and our systems, okay, our systems are actually registered with the Ukrainian military and the Ukrainian government. But that's not true for 90%. Okay. Yes, Shirkan, US should be listening and not dictating. And that is, so this brings me back to the very point that Combat Veteran Reacts is making here. And that in this article that that Michael Bloomberg and all these people are making, Defense Innovation Board are making, that the American model of quote unquote innovation is not applicable to the modern world. And this is something that I can't emphasize enough. But there's people, there's Americans, government influencers and outsiders coming in and saying, well, if you don't do it the American way, then it's corruption, because this company could be taking too much money and blah blah blah. By the way, these drone building companies, by law, they're only allowed to make a certain level of profit, 23%, I think, and they're not allowed to spend any of that money on R&D, innovation. They're not allowed to spend any money on it. That's the crazy part. There's legal regulations on that. So if you are a government registered company building stuff, then you have all these regulations on them, how much, not just how much money you can make, but also how you can spend that money. So a lot of these little drone startups, they're not going to do that. Hell no, because then they can't innovate. And Ukraine's margin of error, margin of innovation over Russia is so slim. So slim. Yeah, Shir Khan, don't even get me started on ITAR. Don't even freaking get me started on that. Oh, Frag. Yes, thank you very much for giving me that feedback. So Frag just said, sadly, my card doesn't work on those sites. So this is why I've got three. Okay, I've got 3 different fundraisers. Because please, guys, if you go to this donate button here, or to donate on this site or that site, like contribute to victory here, and you have a problem, please tell me, because I need that feedback so I can go back to my unit and go back to the people who manage this website and say, hey, it's not working for under this. And Frag, if you don't mind me asking, what country are you in? I know you've told me before, but I just forgot. I'm sorry. That is why I have it set up on my site, and you can use my PayPal, which I should actually put. Oh my God, why don't I have? I'm going to add my PayPal actual address in on here. Sorry. Oh, you're in Germany. Yeah. So this is a huge problem with banks and banking and different banks and credit cards that won't allow you to send money to Ukraine, because this does go to. But there is a PayPal. It's heroesukraine.org. Okay, and Ilya Spolonsky is the director. He's my commander, actually, the director of the Hero of Ukraine charity, if that makes sense. So it's all a big circle, and what some people have said is, well, isn't that corruption? And I'm like, no, this is the only way it can work, is to have this circle here going, because if we had to wait for the government funding from freaking Brave One for 25 lousy $1,000. I mean, the cost of one system, okay, which a full system, if I can just go here, we can look at okay, please load page. Come on, James, get with it. Okay, yeah. So here we go. Fundraiser for one of our systems, which has the unfortunate name of Backfire. I apologize for that, but it just doesn't translate very well into English. It does not backfire. So this system, so it's 2 drones and a launcher and other, all the technology that goes along with it. It's about $45,000. Okay, well, what's freaking Brave One? And we wait 6 months to a year for that money. Come on, BS. Okay, so we have to find other ways. Okay, so Robert, you said the site worked for you, but you can't use PayPal. See, this is why I'm just trying to provide multiple different pathways for everybody, because it all ultimately goes to the same place and the same effort. Okay, but so even within the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian military, they're trying to move, because the one problem with this, when you have 100 or 1,000 different tiny little companies, each making their own stupid drones, or smart drones, okay, the problem with that is scaling. How do you scale up? Okay, so that's a real problem. And so the nice thing about the American model, or in fact, actually the Russian model, which is also very centralized in that way, is that, man, they can steal some Ukrainian technology, just like they did with these fiber drones. They can steal some of that technology, which literally they stole the technology basically from Technology for Ukraine and the other units and things who were promoting this. And they got a hold of that and said, boy, we can make about 1 million of those things, and crank them out as fast as they can. And Ukraine doesn't have that scaling ability. That requires that centralization. But moving from this distributed, like I would argue Silicon Valley model, over to a a big centralized Lockheed Martin model. Yeah, frag in-house production under forced labor. Yeah. That's a difficult transition to make. And when you do that, you risk separating the and this is the main thing. This is where the I think the main point where Combat Veteran Reacts is really hitting the nail on the head here. The feedback loop between these tiny little drone companies, and the drone units who are using that stuff on the front line, is days or weeks, right? And in America, it's years or decades. And if if Ukraine switches to that model too fast or incorrectly, they're going to lose any and all advantage. We will lose this war, and
there's a lot of feel-good shit about the military that the military does, that our country does. And we want to do things that feel good and wholesome and nice. But if China believed that it could take over the United States at minimal cost, it would do so because it would profit China, right? Like truly, if they believed they could dominate the US government, they would, right? And that's not a like China bad. Russia would do the same thing, right? If North Korea believed their military could somehow seize control of the United States, they would do so, right? And the reason, so all the feel-good stuff has to be
right. So we need to understand that this is a race already. We should just consider ourselves at war with these countries. Okay, I hate to say it, but that's the model that's being set up. And that's what we're going to see. As soon as Trump has his Yalta conference, and all the thing about nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine, that's going out the window now. And he'll throw Ukraine under the bus. I have no doubt. No doubt. Okay. And I think I may have mentioned this before, but I was speaking with someone in the Ukrainian military who's involved in this transition. Okay. And they were talking about, well, when you have this loop like you see on my screen with like the unit is raising money and buying things, and there's so much potential for corruption in that. And they said, that's all corruption. You got to go through government channels and all of this. And I said, okay, but when you cut that feedback loop, like the pilots who are flying these drones, how do they give feedback to the engineers who are, iterating designs? And he said to me, well, pilots can fill out a paper form once a month, and it will get eventually submitted to the drone company. I was like, what the actual fuck? Holy crap. That terrified me. Absolutely terrified me. Because, keep in mind that just because you're in the Ukrainian military, you might even be in the drone force. Doesn't mean you understand how innovation works. Doesn't, you might be idealistically trying to root out corruption, which needs to happen for sure in the Ukrainian military. But it's not corruption necessarily, can be, but it's not. It's just two models, and there's just as much corruption in the American government's defense contracting. It's actually more. It's actually on a larger scale. Yeah. Fragdent Shizo said, "Oof." Exactly. Yeah, the paper forms. How long is it going to take that paper form to get back to the engineer? It's already been a month since the problem or whatever occurred. I mean, that is Ukraine losing. Okay, so that is why I have to come to you guys to say, hey, we need to fund this innovation. So, and I apologize that there's like 15 different fundraisers. All right. Donate to whichever one you want. Okay. If you want to help buy more of these drones for my unit, we always need more. We're flying day and night behind enemy lines. If you want to support veterans here in Ukraine, that's right here. And I'm going to focus on that tomorrow. Okay. If you want to support building fiber optic drones here in Ukraine, this is where you go. So you go to whyukraine.com. Why am I getting this weird formatting? I'm sorry. I literally just set this up 30 minutes ago. Tomorrow, I'm going to have some more things that you can do to support. I'm going to set up specifically just a technology innovation fund, because we need that too. So there's, drone manufacturing, and then there's innovation, and the innovation fund. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So, that's where things are. And I hope that you guys are doing okay. It's been a little bit of a rough week for me. But I've never been happier to be doing what I'm doing, quite frankly. And I'm just so honored, and I feel so lucky to have the opportunity to help Ukraine, and I would argue even the world, in the way that I can. And Ukraine mission, thank you, Britt. Yeah, Shere Khan says this was fun. Thanks for all of the updates. Glad you found your place. Yeah, because it could have gone south in a lot of different ways. I could have ended up like, I'm probably lucky I broke my back last year, to be honest, because you probably wouldn't be talking to me, and I wouldn't be able to help Ukraine in the way that I'm able to do. It's fantastic. It's like freaking James Bond plus NASA shit. Like, if you imagine like, NASA thing with all the television screens and the, underground. Oh, I've talked about it already. That was my last live stream. It's fantastic. So I'm gonna, while I have like 2 weeks vacation, I'm gonna try and do as much YouTubing and live streaming as I possibly can. But they forced me to do this, but I'm like, you know what? I don't want to go on vacation. I want to keep working and helping. So I'm actually, I mean, I was off today, but like Thursday and Friday, I was working from home, working with our engineers and the whole thing. So it's a working vacation. I don't know if war is addicting, Shere Khan. I'll be glad when it's over, to be honest. Really will. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, unfortunately. Thank you, guys. I think I might see you guys on the Shills tonight. If you guys are, I'm not sure. I'm waiting for confirmation. But yeah, I might see you guys on the Shills, and I might just be on ATP Geopolitics and Silicon Curtain and Greg Terry and Rick the Ukrainian coming up in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be interesting. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Slava Ukraine. And do pobачення, everybody.